Hey, welcome to video number 3 of the CPCU 556 video series. Today we are going over the most important topics and exam format for the CPCU 556, including the most important tax concepts that you need to know and the most important financial vehicles that you need to know. So pretty important video here. Definitely pay attention. It's a long one. I'm going to try and get through it quickly. Again, this is presented by AssociatePI. We are an independent organization not affiliated with the institutes or the CPCU. My name is Jake. I passed my 556 and I'm helping you pass yours. Again, this is video number 3. If you want to see the other videos of the 4-part series, go to AssociatePI.com/videos. All right, let's get right into it. We're going to touch on the exam format quickly, and then we're going to get into the most important topics. So the format, it's an 85 question exam. There's 2 parts broken up into part A and part B. Part A is all concept questions. They'll be based on some type of definition. Part B are case questions. It's going to be based on a real-life scenario. Going to be about 55 part A questions and about 30 part B questions. So 85 in total, broken up into 2 sections of multiple choice. The question format, which gets pretty tricky, there's about 5 common types of questions that you might see. And they're formatted just like this. It'll say, which of the following is blank? Which of the following is not blank? Blank is what? All of the following are true except. And lastly, the most difficult type of question that you will see in part B of the exam, that the case questions. It'll put you in the shoes of a financial professional, kind of like a financial advisor, and it'll say, which of the following should you recommend? So it'll give you a real life scenario, it'll give you a real person, a real example, and you have to recommend the best solution. So let's look at a couple of these formatted as real questions. So here you can see example 1, which of the following is tax-free funding vehicle? Example 2, which of the following is not a defined contribution plan? Example 3, a defined contribution plan which the employer's contributions are based on the employer's profitability is what type of plan? Example 4, all of the following are characteristics of a variable annuity except. And example 5, definitely the most difficult. As I mentioned, this is a case question that you will see in part B. It says, Eliza is 60 years old and preparing to retire soon. She currently has 65% of her investment portfolio invested in stocks and 35% invested in bonds. As Eliza's financial advisor, what should you recommend to her? So you can see that's a tough question. It gives you a real life example. You have to, based on the scenario, provide a financial recommendation. All right, so let's get into the most important topics. First, we're going to start with the important financial vehicles. There are over 80 of these on the exam that you have to be familiar with. We're going to touch on a couple today. So these are the 4 that we've determined to be the most important. They're on every exam, so you're going to see a couple of these. So make sure you memorize these, because if you memorize these 4 financial products, it'll get you automatically a couple questions correct on your exam, just if you know these from this video. And again, there's a ton in this video, so I'm going to try and go kind of quickly. Let's get started with the defined contribution types. And I'm not going to read everything here. We're going to give you the definition and some tips, but if you need to, go ahead, pause the video and read through the slides, but I'm going to try and go through this quickly so I don't take up too much of your time. But here we go. Defined contribution plan is one of the most important financial vehicles. You have to know this. This includes plans such as the 401k, 403b, profit sharing plan, simple plan. You can read all those plans here that you need to know. So definitely know what a defined contribution plan is. Know the difference between defined contribution and defined benefit plan. That's a very important distinction. And know what each type of plan is. So know what a 401k is, know the benefits of each, and know what individual would use which type of plan. Next, most important is health insurance. So there's a bunch of different health insurance plans that you will see in the content for this exam and on this exam. So there's the CDHP, which are the consumer directed health plans. There's the managed care plans, traditional health insurance, and self-insurance. And out of these, there's different types of each type. So there's different types of managed care plans, different types of traditional health insurance. So you have to know the definitions of each, such as like the Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan, indemnity plan, PPO, and EPO plan. So you got to know all those for each of these specific types of health insurance. Next most important is life insurance. So similar to health insurance, there are a couple of different types of life insurance. There's term life insurance, traditional whole life insurance, universal life insurance, and variable universal life insurance. And then there's subtypes within that, such as, for example, decreasing term life insurance is a type of term life insurance. So for each of these 4 primary plans, there are subplans and types of term life insurance, types of universal life insurance. So you have to know what each of those are, know the definitions of each, and know the various subtypes of each, and importantly, know how each is taxed. So when life insurance is paid out, know how it's taxed, who is paying the tax, know how contributions are taxed, is tax deferred, tax deductible, tax free. You got to know all of that for all of these financial vehicles. And lastly, the fourth most important, or not the fourth most, but number 4 in our list of important financial topics is post-secondary education. So this is saving for essentially paying college tuition, room and board, and college expenses. So, such as there's 5 types of common parental assets used to fund post-secondary education. So you have to know what the 529 plan is, the ESA plan, savings account, Series EE bond, and Series I bond. You have to know all of these. And then another important distinction is you have to know what's a parental asset, what's a student asset, what's considered parent income, what's considered student income, and how this all affects the EFC formula for the purposes of the FAFSA application. So post-secondary education, very important. Know all of these plans, know how they affect the EFC formula and FAFSA, and know how much can be contributed each year by the parent or student, and know the taxation of each. So typically these plans, if they are withdrawn and used to pay for post-secondary education, they can be withdrawn tax-free. Make sure you know the conditions for each of these plans for withdrawing the funds tax-free. All right, so that wraps up our important financial vehicles. Now we are going to look at some of the most important tax concepts of this exam. As I've already talked about, over 80 financial products that you have to know on this exam. Each of these has unique tax treatment that you have to memorize. You have to know it. So we're going to get into that now. So these are the 4 that we're going to cover as you must know for your exam. There's a lot more they have to know, but these are the 4 most important. Understand how each of these transactions are taxed. So for each of these, you have to know how contributions are taxed, how withdrawals are taxed, how loans are taxed, etc. You got to know all of that taxation concepts. So memorize these 4 that we're going to go over in this video, because you're going to see them on your exam, so that'll make sure that you get a couple of these questions correct automatically on your exam. So looking at the first one, estate taxation. So you got to know what estate tax is. So for estate property, the tax treatment depends on whether the property is gifted property, if it's income in respect of a descendant, if it's inherited property, or trust taxation. So you have to know how estates are taxed, know the taxation amount and process, and know how the various aspects of an estate are taxed. So estate tax is pretty complex. We can't cover it all in this slide, but that's definitely something you need to memorize for this exam. IRA taxation, so know about the traditional IRA and Roth IRA. Know the differences between each, and know the definition of each, and what type of individual would use each plan, what the benefits and disadvantages are of each type of IRA. Also know the required minimum distributions of each, know how distributions are taxed, know whether it's contributions are tax deferred, tax deductible, or tax free, know whether withdrawals are tax free, tax deferred. We can't cover it all here, but definitely have to know the tax treatment of the IRAs. That will be on your exam. Next, we're going to look at non-qualified annuity taxation. So qualified annuity, that's easy. That's just taxed based on whatever the qualified underlying plan is. A non-qualified annuity, on the other hand, the taxation of a non-qualified annuity depends on whether what aspect of the annuity is being taxed. So you have to know how the cash value of the non-qualified annuity is taxed, how the accumulation period is taxed, how the annuitization period is taxed, and how the death benefit is taxed. So make sure you know the difference between qualified and non-qualified, and know how every aspect of the non-qualified annuity is taxed. And lastly, we're looking at post-secondary education again. Again, important topic. You have to know these plans and know how they are taxed. So again, know the 529 plan, ESA plan, scholarships, and savings bonds. So know all of the different post-secondary education funding vehicles, know how every aspect is taxed, so contributions, distributions, and understand what is considered a qualified post-secondary education expense, because if the withdrawals from these investment accounts are used to pay for qualified post-secondary education expenses, it can be withdrawn tax-free, but you have to know what is considered a qualified expense for each of these plans because it differs for each plan. So you can see how complex this is. There's a lot to know for these tax concepts, so make sure you memorize those 4 financial products that we mentioned earlier, and these 4 tax concepts that we just touched on now. And I highly recommend you download our taxation guide. You can download that at AssociatePI.com/practice exam. So what this is essentially a study guide for just taxation, because that's one of the most important topics on the exam. So it ensures you take notes on the tax treatment of every financial vehicle, meaning you take notes on the taxation of distributions, withdrawals, cash value, etc. You take notes on it all. So download that at AssociatePI.com/practice exam. We will also give you our free study guide and free practice exam along with that. And if you want to read more about the CPCU 556 exam, go over to AssociatePI.com/CPCU 556. And that wraps it up for video number 3. In our next video, we are breaking down a couple practice exam questions, showing you how to approach and solve different types of 556 practice exam questions. So you can see that over at AssociatePI.com/videos. And that is it for this video. Good luck on the exam. We will see you on the next video.